Good evening. Some of our people are still in meetings, but we're going to begin so that I can say I started almost on time. Let's stand, hymn 249, sing the first and last verses of "O Come, All Ye Faithful." Let's stand as we sing. Thank you. You may be seated. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Trying to sort out some notes here. I've been in a meeting. I want to try to get stuff put away from where I was so I know where I am and that kind of thing. The announcements are this is the last service for this church this year here, and because Sunday will be the first day of a new year. And it has really been, I believe, a great year for our church. I feel a deep sense of satisfaction in that while we probably haven't done everything like the Lord would have wanted us to have done it, we've at least attempted most everything and tried to do it to the best of our ability as we think He would have us to do, and that I'm ashamed of nothing. I look forward to the tools that He has given us to start a new year with, families that we have, and new opportunities that are ahead of us. So, but we also start this year off, or end this year, and move towards another year with a number of things to be very conscious of on our prayer list. I'd like to, first of all, give a praise item. If you haven't walked around the corner and looked at the offering Sunday was $5,887 for our Christmas offering, which was just very good, and we appreciate that. And then don't forget, this Sunday, Adam's making sure the young people understand we're on a regular schedule this Sunday. Morning worship, Sunday school, morning worship, youth meetings, choir rehearsal, evening worship. So all of those are on a regular schedule this coming Sunday. Next Wednesday, we're going to go ahead and set these dates so that people will know. Most everyone has picked up poinsettias. There's just a few sitting over there. If you haven't gotten yours, please feel free to get it. If it is not gone by Saturday, we will dispose of them for you. And next Wednesday, I don't know what crews do what, but I'm designating next Wednesday and next Saturday. Next Wednesday, the 4th, and Saturday the 7th are going to be the days that we unassemble everything, undecorate, and get everything put up. Some of you were out here on Wednesdays. It was easier for you to work on a Wednesday before supper or during supper or after Bible study, and some it's better on Saturday because you work, etc. So both days are going to be used to put our sanctuary back to a post-Advent look. So please remember that. That's going to be next Wednesday before Bible study, next Saturday the 7th to finish things up. Things to report on concerning prayer time. I am going to give you a praise item. Those of you that are on social media, you know all about this. My son gave his fiance a puppy for Christmas, which developed parvo, and they were not at all too happy last night. They went back to the vet kept it overnight and all, and little puppies only have best about a 50-50 shot if you get parvo. And this morning the vet called him and said, she's just dancing around wanting to play, come get this dog and take it home. So we got her back home, and Caleb, everything is well with the world, because Caleb's happy now and they're happy. And so, but she was a sick puppy there for a while, and they were not at all certain that she would still be around this morning. So she did. They caught it really early, so that was a good thing. Sadie is her name, and all is well with Beargrass, because Sadie's at our house. I think it's a joint custody until April when they get married. I think it's a joint custody for the puppy. Holly takes it home with her at night, and then they bring it back the next morning, and we get the potty trained. So, you know. Do what? Yeah, it's lovely, all right. It was real lovely. Anyhow, Thelma is in Roanoke Rapids with her brother, Douglas. And she and I talked, and she's staying up there for a couple of days. She thinks he's a little bit better, but she still wanted us to particularly remember him. And saw your smiling faces on the Facebook page. Pam's news was great. 3 months and scans showing no tumors, so that was a praise item for y'all today. And Jonna Cowan is continuing to mend and is doing better, but she still will not be back here this Sunday. Neither will Shirley Pratt. She went back to urgent care Monday morning and she still sounds like George Younts of the Cathedral Quartet. She is a definite bass right now, and they've changed her to another antibiotic. And I said, is there anything that I can do for you? She said, just stay away. She didn't want anybody to get this. She said this was the doggedest thing she had ever. She said she just can't shake it. And then we got into this conversation about, well, how many cans of chicken noodle soup have you had? She didn't have any since last week. There's your problem right there. You know, I said, you haven't made you any chicken and rice soup or chicken noodle soup? She said, well, I made some last week. I said, well, what's the problem? Do I need to go pick some up and take it over there? I got it by the case in our pantry. And if I get a sniffle, I'm a firm believer. I live on chicken noodle soup. They'll tell you right there. If I get it, I believe in chicken noodle soup. Very much so. Me and Campbell's have a real close relationship when I get a cold. So, but keep Shirley. She's already made arrangements for her Sunday school class Sunday. She will not be here. So Jonna and Shirley are still out, but Jonna's doing better. Shirley, she's not shaking it. So we'll remember her. In my communications with Cherry this afternoon, James Albert was to go, but he has high potassium and low sodium again, and she didn't give me a room number. I haven't heard from her. She said he would be admitted. They are keeping him overnight, and but I haven't gotten a text that I know of from her telling me a room number. But she said they were going to be admitted. So he'll spend the night and get his test tomorrow, as far as I know. I haven't heard him. Also, Chris Modlin told me that Nicole was not doing too well, so he asked that she be remembered. And some of our people are gone because Miss Annie Pratt is at the ER right now. But the word that I had was that Dina just gave me was that she still has not been seen yet. She's still waiting to be seen. And the only symptoms that Brenda was talking about was she was having some shaking and all on her left side, having issues. So she is there, and that's where family and folks are. So we want to remember Miss Annie tonight. Now, are there any others? That's who I have to speak about. Are there any others anyone would like to share? Yes, sir. And who's the person? Roulette? There you go. I don't know him, but all y'all do. Anyway, Maxine Roulette passed away yesterday. Funeral 11 o'clock Friday at Memorial Baptist. Yeah, I heard some of you talking about she was there. You had her as a school teacher. So in other words, so she's probably about 95. Oh, you didn't share that initially, so I'm just drawing a conclusion. 71. And you know, there were two celebrities that have passed away this week. And that concerns me because both of them were younger than I am. Carrie Fisher, the Princess Leia, and her mother had a stroke today. Carrie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds. So, yes, that's the other praise item. Tina Scott put on Facebook yesterday, all of Sierra's testing came back clean. She continues to be clean and cancer-free, so they were really happy about that. Okay? Any other updates? You put your brother or your sister or someone on the prayer list last week? Okay. Okay. Mm. There are private and personal needs within our church family that have asked to be remembered. While we are blessed, and we really are, let's not forget that part of our blessing is the opportunity to be a vessel and to be a servant. And you may, as a part of this church family, get such an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Someone may need a shoulder to put their head on. Someone may need a hug. Someone may need just to vent because they can't keep it inside anymore. Someone may just need a little bit of advice because they don't know where to turn. Most of us are doing just fine. But there are those who still struggle. And we're not immune to that as a church family. Father, for this day, we're thankful. The privilege of being here in your house tonight to explore your word and learn from it, we count it as a privilege. To be able to pray for others whose needs far exceed ours, we're humbled. We know that you have told us through your word that if we will humble ourselves and ask you for forgiveness and be forgiven, then our prayers can be heard. And so, Father, we do that. We recognize our shortcomings. We recognize our own personal sinfulness, and we look to you asking for your mercy and your grace and your forgiveness. For without that, then our prayers and our concerns and our petitions for others are meaningless. So help us to understand the importance of keeping our own selves reconciled with you, so that we might with boldness, clarity, and with cleanness of heart be able to lift up the needs of others. They are many. There's grief, there's concern, there's continued stays in hospitals, there's continued testing, there are procedures ahead, there's surgeries ahead. There are so many different things that can claim our attention within our church family and our community. So, Father, for each one that's been mentioned, for the private requests, we just pray your hearing and your response within your will. We thank you for another tremendous year in the life of this church, for the new families that you have added to our flock, for the new opportunities that you gave us to serve, for the new ventures that have been explored. And Father, we look forward to the coming year, to all that you may have in store for us. But continue to mold us, to make us, to lead us, and to direct us how you would have us to be as your children. This we ask for in Christ. Amen. Okay. I want to talk about a little known person that's only mentioned once in the entire New Testament. But this person is an interesting part of the Christmas story. And I would like to explore that. This would fall right around the timeline. Let me begin by this way. We're going to be in Luke chapter 2. Do you have a spiritual mentor? Do you have someone that either at the present time or during your life or at some point during your formative years that you just knew you could turn to and you did turn to, and they were always a source of uplifting to you. I think everybody should have one, and because they're so beneficial, especially if they're a godly mentor. And one of the best examples of a spiritual leadership is this woman who is so often overlooked in the New Testament, and her name is Anna. Remember now, after, as was the custom, Jesus was taken to the temple on the 8th day as a newborn, and he and his family were met by this person. Let's read verses 36, 7, and 8. There was also a prophet, Anna, the daughter of Penuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was very old. She had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshiped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. Interesting. Here is a lady that's mentioned only here, only in this occurrence in the life of Jesus, Mary and Joseph, on that day that they took the baby to the temple. That was where he would officially receive his official name, on the 8th day. Went to the temple to be consecrated, and Joseph would look to the priest and say, his name is Yeshua. So that was why they were going. It was the custom, it was the law. But on their journey, on their arrival, they are met by this elderly lady. And I would like for you to look at what these 3 verses say about her. And I want to put this around the question, what are you going to take away from this Christmas? What are you going to take away? Now, some are taking away those drones. I see that they're a flying thing, and I see Phil Slow's dogs don't think too much of them either, because they're jumping all over those things. Yeah. I'm taking all these presents. Well, now, what are you taking away from this Christmas that's going to be beneficial to us as we walk into a new year? What, if anything, and I hope there was, during these 4 weeks of Advent that led up to the celebration of Christmas, some type of spiritual discipline that built you up, that strengthened you, that was meaningful to you, something that you can glean maybe from a family experience. You know, some families announced, oh, you're going to be a grandfather. That happened a couple of years ago for us. My niece, we're over at their house Christmas Eve, which is the Hines family tradition, and Logan, who's the girl, firstborn, she comes walking out about midway through. She's been changed, and she has on this t-shirt saying, I'm getting ready to be a big sister. And that was how they announced that Sonia was pregnant again. Oh, okay, then we're going to have a baby. I'm not. We're not. But they did. Anyhow. So sometimes there's some very special memories that get taken away from these special events. But what are we taking away from Christmas? What are we going to leave this year? When we come back in here next time, it's going to be 2017. I think if I could offer just a couple of things tonight for a few minutes. I think there are a few things that we really need to take away with us as we depart from this year, from this Christmas season, and head into 2017. I think if there's one thing that's been meaningful to us as a church and as a church family, it has been our process and our attitude of worship. We have never sacrificed anything for our worship. Worship has always been a priority with this church, as it should be. But sometimes we let worship become less of a priority. But look at Anna. She was advanced in years. She had lived for years with her husband. Now she was widowed for at least 7 years after his death. She was in her 80s. Yet she never left the temple. And I don't think what they're saying there is that she was there 24/7 and never left the temple. She never left her church. She was there for all of the times of prayer. She was there for all of the burnings of the incense. She was there for all of the readings of the scripture. She was there at the prescribed times for temple worship. She didn't let the death of her husband say, okay, well, life's not worth living anymore. I don't really have a lot to look forward to, so, the temple's not that important. No, she did not do that. And we're good for that. Sometimes we'll let significant events in our lives take us away from the church. I had a lady in the first church I pastored. And I really got worried at Casey's Chapel. That was my first full-time pastorate. The first 6 months I was there, I did 12 funerals. I looked at my cousin David. I said, man, people are dying to hear me. And he said, don't put yourself down. Just tell people you're a killer preacher. He was not a lot of help. But there was this family, and they were not active. The mother passed away, who was very active in the church. And she lived a full life. She was in her 80s. She passes away. She had a stroke, and it was massive. But her daughter wasn't all that active. But it was a church funeral. It was not at the funeral home. The visitation was at the church, and the funeral was at the church. And then after the funeral, a couple of weeks after, she wasn't coming to church. And so I went to visit. And here was her remark. What do you think she said? All I see when I walk in that sanctuary is my mother's casket. I just can't bring myself to go in there. And so help me, see, I was so young, I wanted to say, well, what was the excuse before the funeral? But I didn't. You can't. But sometimes we'll let significant events, whether they be tragic or even good. I've seen people show up a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a couple of years before their child's going to get married. Once the big event's over, you don't see them anymore. They're creasters. You might see them at Christmas and Easter, and that's about it. I try to wish everybody, if they come on Mother's Day, which is usually the biggest service of the year, I try to wish them, happy 4th of July, happy Labor Day, happy Memorial Day, happy Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter, because I know I'm not going to see them again until then. We should not let events in our daily living take us away from what the church has to offer us through worship. So she had a place for her to worship. That's important. She was regular at the temple. She was persistent. Listen to these P words. She had a place to be in worship. She was persistent in her worship. And she had a passion for worship. She was there. How many of us have a healthy passion for worship? And the reason I say she had a passion for worship, because of what the scripture says that she did. She fasted as a way of life. And Jesus would later encourage all of his followers that it was meaningful to fast. He did that in the 6th chapter of Matthew. Giving up meals for the purpose of seeking God, it's an ancient and it's an excellent way to passionately pursue God. You're taking away something that you physically need in order to spiritually get in touch. Me personally, I don't do it. I don't go. I'm not good at fasting. I can't do without food too. Some people think that those kinds of things are mandatory in order to have a right relationship with God. But you have to remember, in the Old Testament times, which we are in until and after the birth of Christ, they had all kinds of rules and regulations in order for you to stay in good standing with God, most of which were frivolous. But Jesus said fasting was meaningful. In addition, I don't think anyone grows up in the things of God without prayer. And she was a person of prayer. She had a place for worship. She was persistent in her worship. She had a passion for what worship could mean to her life. And she was a person of prayer. That word, diomai, is the Greek word for prayer. And that word specifically is found 37 times in the New Testament. And it means an admitted need. She didn't pray just because it was a ritual. She prayed because she understood that there was never a point in time in her life that she didn't need God there. How many times can we say that? We'll get out here on our little self-sufficient thing and think we got it all going for us. She was never that way. She's a wonderful role model because it also finishes it with praise. She gave thanks. She praised God when she saw Jesus. That's a good role model. And those are some wonderful things to take with us as an attitude for worship into the new year. We need that. We need the spiritual discipline of worship. We also need the discipline of witness. And that's right out of verse 38. And that's the other thing I want to mention. When we think of spiritual disciplines, evangelism is not really placed there. We don't look at evangelism, telling someone about Jesus Christ, as a spiritual discipline. But look at her. As well an evangelist as a prayer warrior. As soon as she saw Jesus, verse 38, she began to speak of him to any who would hear. That is powerful and that is persuasive. How many people know you go here? You attend here? How many people at work know? Jackie's going to say nobody because I'm retired. I don't work here. Fine. I mean, as soon as she saw Jesus, she began to speak of him to all, Scripture said. The betrayal, she had no idea about all of the whippings and the beatings and the mockery of a trial. She had no idea about the crucifixion or the resurrection or the beginning of the church and the church of Pentecost. But she told everybody about Jesus. And look at the advantage we have. We have all of that other stuff. We know about how he walked. We know about how that 3.5 years of earthly ministry changed the lives of thousands of people. We know how he humbly gave himself up to be delivered for us. We know how he endured the mockery of a trial. We know how he endured the pain of the beatings. We know how he endured the crucifixion. And we know he overcame death. We have a wonderful story to tell. You would think that with all of the advantages we have over Anna, that we would like to let somebody know about Jesus Christ. I hope we can. I hope we'll take the discipline of evangelism into next year. But I think it's a valid question to ask. What are we going to take with us into 2017? What will our passions be? Now, I've talked about worship, I've talked about prayer and so on, but what are some things, I jotted down after my conclusion here, some things that I feel like I saw a passion for in 2016 that was different from the years before, that I would like to see head into 2017. Not just because I personally like them, but because I saw them. I saw a passion for our children this year that was greater than we have in years past. We had a huge vacation Bible school, and we saw more people, more adults volunteer to serve in vacation Bible school than ever since I've been here. We had over 35 people, adults, working with our kids. The passion for our kids is something that I hope continues to carry forward next year. Then we were given an opportunity to have a passion and be concerned about others and not even know who they were. Hurricane Matthew gave us that privilege this year. It gave us the privilege to look in our closet and say, man, I've got all this, and there are people there whose houses are underwater. Everything I'm looking at in my house, they have not anymore. And we responded. In fact, I've still got probably more than a carload to try to get to Greenville sometime this week or next week. And you just didn't have a closet cleaning party or an attic dispensation. We We did things meaningful. We went and we looked and we asked and we found out what people needed. And we responded. And some still respond. And that's fine because there's still some people that are homeless. FEMA has left. They're gone. And there are still people who don't have homes in Pitt County and in Greene County. The needs are still there. And in the midst of that, I hear comments from people who are a part of our family saying, we need to keep some food here all the time. We ought to have a food pantry so that if there's a need, we can respond now. Well, I'm not keen on a food pantry personally. It doesn't move my heart like other things do. But that's not the point. The point is there are people in this church family that it does. So, what business have I got of trying to say, well, the passion in your heart don't count because I stand behind this here thing on Sunday morning. No, it don't work that way. And it needs to be explored. We got a group of families that have a passion now to get out there and upgrade a playground and renovate a playground. That's the part of the children's passion. They formed their own ad hoc committee and came up with their own ideas and have had their own fundraisers, and all because they care, and all because they also learned that people drove by and said, well, I saw a playground, so I figured there must be kids there and that people must love children there, so they started visiting. And then we got, again, directed towards children. People that would like to investigate the backpack ministry. I don't know what. Backpack buddies. Say that 3 times. Because so many children, even in this county, go home on Fridays and probably won't have a decent meal until they come back to the school breakfast on Monday morning. And there are a number of churches in this area that are doing that. There are 1 or 2 in Williamston that I'm positive of that have backpacks ready every Friday afternoon there at Rogers. But they can only do so many. And it would be something good. But it takes time. It takes effort. It takes someone to have a passion for it. It takes someone willing to say, I'm going to make this happen. We had a chance to do a different college ministry this year. It's different. I still don't know squat about a horse, but the whole idea of that thing is they don't have to talk about horses there because they have to live it 24/7. They get to come out around the fire and eat food and hear stuff and talk and not have to talk about horses. They do anyway, you know how. But it developed because someone had a heart for it and had a passion for the young people. Now, I don't really go along with the gambling at the bowling alleys and stuff. No, they don't do that. But Gail whoops Jerry every time when we bowl over. Every time. I don't know what's the deal with him. In other words, what I'm praying for as we go into 2017 is a healthy blend of worship and witness that just creates a passion. I don't know what kind of doors we've had an opportunity we've started a new careers class, and that class is thriving, and there's a lot to do. We sat down tonight in the youth committee meeting, and I was amazed at just how many names, when you start looking at how many of our people are involved in our youth ministry. I mean, we have 4 toddlers church teams now. That's 8 right there. 8 to 10 people with just one of our groups. And then we got Wednesday night, Sunday morning children's church twice a month. Adam's got them twice a month. We're involved in a lot. We do a lot. And there's a lot of people here sharing their gifts and sharing their passions that you don't even see. It's a lot more involved than just the 2 nurseries. And yes, we have 2 nurseries every Sunday. So I hope you'll prayerfully consider what you want to take into next year. Where's your passion? Where is there a yearning that you feel is a need? and that you feel like you might like to respond to or whatever, feel free to talk about it. Feel free to come to me. Feel free to pray about it first and foremost, and then decide whether or not it really moves you. Sometimes churches get involved with things that they have no business getting involved with. I've pastored churches. We went to a former pastorate, the 23rd. We've been every year since we left Core Creek. We were there 13 years, and then this past every December 22nd and December 23rd, they have a live nativity, and this was their 41st annual live nativity. I remember one year we did that live nativity, and it was so cold and so much snow on the ground. It was ridiculous, and there was only one vehicle that came by in the 2 nights, and you know who it was? It was a trucker. He was what they call bobtailing. He had no, just the truck, no trailer. But the roads were so bad, and he was trying to get home. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. He wanted to get home, but he had given up. He said, to heck with it. He had just happened to take the exit that took him by our church. And he stopped, and he saw all the little kids out there dressed up as angels, and it like 10 degrees. We did cheat. We did have a little space heater in there trying to keep Mary and Joseph warm, but it won't do it. And that guy walked back there. We fixed him a plate of food, because you know how Free Will Baptists are. That's all you do. If you're not out there dressed up, you're in there eating. And we have 4 30-minute sets. And he said, I was going to give up and just park it somewhere and sleep. He said, but I believe I can make it home. I think he was headed south to Alabama. He said, I'll make it. So you never know what your passion, and this crowd at Cove City has a passion for that. They got, livestock people. There's sheep out there. There's a donkey out there. There's cows out there. And kids. And adults. Trust me, Mike Barnhill does not play a good angel. He's huge. Big man, but he stands up there with 3 kids over the manger. They have a passion for it. Not everybody can do that. We probably couldn't. Yeah? But there are things that we do that are meaningful for our community, for ourselves, for our school. Keep your passion alive as we head into it. Thank you for coming. Stand and be dismissed. Oh, and I do want to say this. Sunday, when you come, please make sure you look as you come in the door at the coat rack there. Because hanging there, you washed them all. You washed what I wore, I guess. Hanging there will be 6 different color shirts that are the new Rose of Sharon shirts with the emblem, cross, the globe, the basin, and the towel. Our denominational logo, and I've already worn 2 or 3 of them. John Cowan has seen 3 of them because I wore a different one each day to go visit her. But they're in 6 colors. They're in men's and women's sizes. So ladies, you can circle the lady size. You don't have to wear a man's shirt, but they'll all be hanging up. You got 2 weeks to order. They'll be about $20 for the shirts. They're 3-button polos. They're very nice. I'll try to wear one. I've been wearing them, but anyway, we'll have all 6 of them out there. They're in white, gray, red, blue, royal, black. So those are the 6 colors, 6 different colors. Get all you want, but advertise your church. It says Rose of Sharon Free Will Baptist right under it. They'll be up there on display, and you can order them for the next 2 weeks. Thank you for coming. Robert Lee, would you dismiss us, please?